rainbows and sunshine, let's go. As the song goes, good morning sunshine. Yes, welcome one and all. 6 weeks to go to London Marathon. Oh, the excitement is getting oh so close. But yes, now we're getting to the sharp end of the training. So I thought I'd take you along on a long run with me. I don't know how long it'll be because it's all about feel, following surgery and so on. So come along and watch the whole thing because it's a bright sunshiny day today, and I'll be taking you along the canals here in West Yorkshire. Yes, mainly Rochdale Canal. And so be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, click on the subscribe button, and not to miss out on some great upcoming videos like the sub 90 Worcester City half marathon project, which will be later this week. So in this video I'm going to be taking you on my long run, about 28-30k, somewhere around there, but I'll be discussing why we need to do a long run as part of marathon training, and what we need to take along with us, and what we need to do. Without further ado, dooby-dooby-doo. So be sure to stick along to the very end, where I'll give you all the juicy bits of why in heaven's name we put ourselves through this long run, the real reasons, the science behind it all. So yeah, stick along to the end. As I'm now on the canal, the point that I'll be going through, in no particular order of priority, will be pace that we need to be going at, distances to be covering, how much time to be on feet, fueling, all very important fueling, and also groups, running with groups, and the benefits or maybe disadvantages with those. So point number one, the speed we should be running our long runs. And this can cause a lot of division between people, because you can go online and look at a gazillion online coaches, information, websites, and a lot of them tend to say run at this pace but X minutes slower than marathon pace, which you don't know your marathon pace till marathon race day. So how can that work? Yeah, so for me it's really simple, and I picked this up from one of the top coaches. It's just what I'm doing right now. It's conversational pace. Yeah, if you use your heart rate zones, for me it's zone 1. Yeah, it could be different for other people. For some of you, you might be able to sneak into zone 2, but no faster. And again, we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to others. Like if you look at more experienced runners, they talk about doing speed sessions on their long runs. Ignore all of that if you're a beginner. That's route 1 to injury, because our bodies haven't been trained to withstand that kind of stuff, shall we say. So the pace, speed, and you might have seen last week's video where I talk about smartwatches not being that smart, is that GPS is often not that accurate. So the GPS is telling you your pace, speed, and that can be off. And especially now when I'm running along water features, it can be off by quite a long way. So in summary, conversational pace, speed. Yeah, let's do that as I come to a crossing. So point number 2, distance. Well, this is the $1 million question, and apologies for stating the obvious, but depending on how you implement number 1 will determine the distance. But my word of caution if following a plan, if it talks about running a particular distance for beginners, depending on what the distance is and what your fitness level and that is, it really is asking too much. So I would say the distance for a beginner is almost irrelevant. It's related to number 3, which I'll be covering in a moment, about time on feet, and that wonderful rule that I've been talking about time and time again. Yes, so distance. There is also the psychological thing. Whilst I'm running to distance today, I'm at expert level, running at England Marathon Masters International level. So for me, I am way within the time rule. and I'm doing it, as you can see now, on conversational pace with you, so I'm ticking off all the boxes. So for me to run today, it'd be around 28-30k. I don't know how much. Yes, I'm feeling a bit of trepidation about this, because this will be the furthest I've ran since surgery, and it does scare me a bit because, all right buddy, oh yeah, it does scare me a bit because I don't know what my body will do. I don't want to sound over dramatic, but yeah, when you've had your gallbladder removed and then 5 days later you end up in A&E through some complications not related to the surgery, it does play on your mind. But yeah, distance, it can become a bit of a race, and psychologically that's not good, especially for a beginner. And I would say it applies also to some intermediate and expert levels as well. So that's distance. Don't stress about it, which leads me to point number 3. So number 3, yes, time. Father Time, yes. How long do you need to go for a long run for it to be classified as a long run? Well, we can have this debate for every other day, but I did do a whole video. The longest time you should be on your feet, almost 100%, give or take maybe 20 minutes if you're really good, is 3 hours. Do not go running longer than 3 hours, and that should be the longest long run. With 6 weeks to go to London Marathon, you'll be coming up to, maybe even today, you would have done it this weekend, or next weekend will be your longest long run, and then we start the taper. Yeah, 3 hours. Why 3 hours? Well, as I say, give or take, you know, you could go a bit longer depending on your fitness, but it's to do with the detriment far outweighs the benefits. As I'm passing a few little dogs here. Yeah, does that make sense? Because as you're getting tired, our form starts to deteriorate, and if we're running in particular bad form, that increases the risks of injury. Yeah, so that's why that rule is there. It's not my rule. It's come up with some of the top coaches in the world, yeah, because I've worked with some of the best in the world. If you want to be one of the best, you need to work with the best, yeah. So 3 hours, no more than 3 hours. Now I know today's will be well within that. If you watched me last week, 2 hours 50 for 24k, nice and easy, super easy, with the weekend wobblers. Yes, not as I said, because I think my brain went to mush in the sunshine, wibbly wobblers. Yeah, weekend wobblers. But we'll talk more about groups in a minute. So I've just gone through Sowerby Bridge, and I think I'm technically now on the Rochdale Canal. So to cover point number 4, fueling. Oh man, I've seen more debates, recommendations, suggestions about this than probably anything else, maybe even more than shoes, but people don't talk about it much because it is quite contentious, yeah, and for all sorts of reasons. But I'm just going to pop up a picture and you'll see what I'm carrying with myself today morning. The fueling, the whole purpose of a long run is that you can practice your fueling strategy for marathon day, yeah, because fueling is different for everyone. What works for one person probably won't work for another, and just what I'm showing you in the picture there, you know, today, because it's a warm day, I've got a 500 millilitres bottle of water, a little plastic one that fits in my fanny pack, and a gel, just the one gel, because I'm not running at race pace, so I don't need lots of gels. So for me, It's more just to keep the energy up, because the amount of time I'll be on my feet, I do need to probably pop a gel. I have run these distances without anything, but that's more in the winter or different conditions, so you need to strategize for different conditions as well. The other things that's in the fanny pack, you'll probably notice the 2 racer bars. Yeah, for those who want to know where that's from, it's Aldi. Yeah, but those are more for emergency or bonus when I've finished, depending on how I've been doing. Yeah, so that's what I've got in there. And obviously I've got the camera as well, which I'm holding right now, but that's just for your enjoyment and education whilst I'm running here. So try what works for you. Gels works for some people. There's things called blocks, like jelly blocks that you suck on. There's other hydration things you can use. Certainly a few years back, training in the summer months, I would have a hydration vest. I don't use that anymore because I don't need to take on as much liquid. I worked out how much I take and the speed and pace I'm doing, taking into account also the temperature. I find the 500ml for me, I stress for me, is plenty, but don't let that stop you getting hydration vests, going with those. You may have that. Leave it in the comments below if you do run with those. And when I trained with a hydration vest, when I done that race in the autumn, Frankfurt Marathon, I felt considerably lighter, because there are water aid stations all the way around the course. Yeah, so as I'm about to go into the tunnel, we'll get ready to talk about point number 5. So you may notice you won't be able to see me because it's dark, but I'm walking. Yeah, why run in the dark with the potential of falling in the canal, especially if I'm talking to my video camera at the same time. So here we are, out of the tunnel. Boom. Haha. Next point, let's go. Rainbows and sunshine, let's go get this long run done. Speaking of fueling, time for a little drink. I've been going for 55 odd minutes. I just thought it's an opportune time, as I was talking about fueling, so it's about almost an hour in, coming up to nearly 10k. But as I say, distance, time, whatever, I feel thirsty. And as I do on race day, I walk through the aid stations and have a drink. So that's what I'm doing now. I haven't paused the Garmin. I continue. I know. So let's have this drink, because I can only hold one thing at one time here. So yes, a bit of water taken on board. Nice and refreshing. Little walk. And as I've often said, it's good to combine the walking and running into your training, especially as a beginner, because there may be sections during the race where you'll be walking for whatever reason, and if you've put that into your training, it certainly helps with your legs, because when you start walking, things start happening with the muscles, and if you wanted to kickstart the running, the muscles need to be used to that. A bit like triathlon training. They call it brick training, from getting off the bike and running, using different muscle sets and stuff. But I digress as I come into point number 5. So point number 5, I talk about groups, running with groups, that it's more of a, can it help you on your long runs? I would say 100% yes, because you're with other people, and especially if you're with people around the same level as yourself, so you can run at similar speeds and have a nice chat, and when you're chatting the time goes by. So 100% yes. There are some caveats in there, but it depends on the size of the group. Just with maybe one other person is beneficial enough. But last week I mentioned I was with the weekend wobblers, and there was about 10 of us started off. We were doing a Worcester City half marathon route, but I'd already ran to where they were starting from, so I'd already done some distance beforehand. Yeah, so for me it was a little bit longer. I think it turned out to be 24k, but in that group of 10 of us, after about 6 miles we stopped, had some drinks and cake, yummy yummy, and some people finished at that point and some of us carried on. So all different levels, different styles, and it was great doing that. And whilst it was a slower pace than I would normally run for a long run, based on where I was at the recovery level, recuperation, it was a great confidence boost for me. And thank you, Lisa, for the invite, because for me it was about time on feet. 2 hours 50. Yeah. Now, as I mentioned, and this isn't to brag or anything, but at this pace I'll be covering much longer distance. So yeah, that was fun. So I'd highly recommend find some groups, chat with people, someone local. But for me personally, the time that I train, not trains, planes, automobiles, as I look at that pace, yeah, see, ooh, all pretty consistent, is that finding people at the location and the times can be a challenge for some. Yeah, so have a look around, but it does have lots and lots of benefits. So thumbs up for groups, it does really help. And a 5B tip, like I'm doing now, if you're doing an out and back route, and I've mentioned this in other videos, it'd be good to run into the wind going out and then coming back with the wind behind you. There you go.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. So yes, groups and tailwinds on the way back. Whew. Let's continue on this run and I'll go through why do we do all this? What are the benefits of it all? Because I know you want to know. Yeah, stick along, we'll cover that. So I've just crossed the road. I'm coming almost to my turnaround point for the 30k. Hebden Bridge, as it says there, 500 years of creativity. 1510, yes, that's when the bridge was here. Let's go and finish the turnaround and head back. So yes guys, as I say, stick around to the end where I'll be going through why in heaven's name we do these long runs. Yeah, Hebden Bridge, beautiful. I've got River Calder on one side, Rochdale Canal here on my other side, surrounded by beautiful water and all these canal boats, homes. Yeah, just rows and rows of them. Hebden Bridge, beautiful small town, right on the edge of West Yorkshire, worth a visit definitely. Lovely place. There's a good energy about the area here, and as I say, well worth a trip. Lots of good eateries, drinks, yes, pizza and all that stuff. You can get here by train, boat, don't know about plane, but hey, you could try a Bond style drop-in, couldn't you, by helicopter? But anyway, almost coming up to because today I'm doing by distance. So far I've been going for almost an hour and a half. So at the turnaround I'll pop the gel just to see how the digestive system takes it on, because since the operation, gallbladder gone, some people have left comments that their innards aren't working like they did before the op, and gels don't work for them. So I need to find this out for myself, and the only way to find out for myself is to do it myself. Yeah, I know it sounds obvious, but ministry of the bleeding obvious here. Yes, so as I'm coming to my turnaround points here, joking aside, probably this might be 5C, point number 5C. I see a bench here, and sometimes it can be so tempting to sit down and think I'm done. And if you are done, it's worth, I won't sit on it because it looks damp. Don't want a wet bum all the way back. But no, on a serious note guys, yes, on your route, when you're plotting your routes, if you are out on your own on these long runs, be sure to have what I call escape routes. So you might be able to call on a partner by phone and they come and collect you wherever you may be. But for me, I'm out on my own here. I guess I could call my friends on where I'm at the moment, but it's early Sunday morning. Would I want to disturb them? So my get out of jail card is the route that I'm running along is by various train stations, and there is a train station here at Hebden Bridge where I can get back to where I'm staying with my friends. So that's my get out of jail type card, and whatever time the train's out, it's immaterial. I always have money with me, credit cards. Obviously that's all in my phone, so I'll make sure the phone's charged. You wouldn't have seen in my photo of what's in my bum pack, you would not have seen the oh, I need to be going back the other way, don't I? Turn around point. So you wouldn't have seen the phone because I took the picture with my phone, but I always, I cannot emphasize enough, 100% you have your mobile phone with you in case of emergencies. And that's not to run in state of fear and anxiety and all that. No, I'm talking about things can happen. It might not be to you. You might see someone, another runner in distress and need some help, so you need to call the emergency services or whatever. Yeah, and make sure the phone is 100% charged. As I make sure, not always, that my camera here is 100% charged. So I did say I'd be taking on a gel, so I better get my gel out, have a drink. And again, with gels, some brands might work for you, some brands might not. I use this particular one. Where is it? It's hidden away deep down in my fanny pack. Let's have a look here. I use Talk gels, so these will be the gels that I've used these before. This will be the first time I've taken a gel, as I say, post-op. So based on the comments, and thank you to you guys, there's so many smart, intelligent people who've been through all sorts of shizzle, said that their previous gels weren't working with their tummy after gallbladder surgery. So whilst I've used these before, I'm going to try them out. Stick with what you know, and they always say on race day, don't try anything new. So I'll pause a bit, take this gel, and then we will continue. So it's one of the gel. I wash it down with some water. Now the gels that I take, depending on what gels you use, some of them they say you need to wash it down with water after, so you need to time it when you're on race day, that you take the gel before you get to a water aid station and then wash it down with water. The particular gels I take, it doesn't need to have water because it's liquidy enough to go down my digestive system, shall we say. So but I just take it because it's nice, and killing two birds, one stone, and all that, you know, hydration and energy going in at the same time. So yeah, that's me. So why do we do all this? Yeah, why do we do all this to us, to ourselves? Why? So why do we put ourselves through these long distances? Yeah, and there'll be people out there, I'd like to say I do it for the positive reasons. One of the side effects is being out in this beautiful sunshine is it does top up my suntan, yes. But we don't do it for that reason. There may be people out there who do it for what I might call not so positive reasons. Maybe, you know, the old no pain no gain, and the a bit like 50 Shades of Running. Maybe I should do a video about that. What do you think? 50 Shades of Running, what not to do. But no, I'd like to look at the positive things. The three main reasons, yeah, is the first one is endurance. We need endurance because running a marathon is a long way. I know, Ministry of the Bleeding Obvious again, but we need to build in endurance, time on feet, yeah. Whatever the distance we do, you know, we need to build up to being able to be on our feet for those 3 hours, 3 hours 20, comfortable, whatever the distance is. Yeah, because running slow and easy, you may see a myriad of videos out there. To run fast in endurance running, you need to train slowly, and that's what I'm doing right now by training at these slow speeds. For me, it helps build the mitochondria in our system, which effectively, in plain English, is the transportation of oxygen through our body. It builds the system through that. I'm not a medic, but the long and the short of it is it gets you more efficient at endurance running. So train slow to get fast. Sounds a bit counterintuitive, but believe me, it works. Yeah, so endurance is the first one. The second reason for me doing these long runs is the fueling. I'm not just talking about fueling that, as I mentioned, during the actual run. It's the fueling before and after. So before, for me, cup of tea, 2 slices of toast. That's all I need to get me going, because the day before I would have fueled up with carbs for the day, no more than normal, but to ensure that I'm getting some carbs in there so my body's got enough for these long distances. That's the key thing to be training for. So fueling, and as I mentioned, don't try anything new on race day. So work out whether it's gels, blocks, tailwind, whatever you're using, make sure it works for you. So you might have seen some top runner or your favorite YouTuber mention some foods. It may not work for you, so maybe leave in the comments below what works for you on there. So fueling, that's the second reason why we do these. And third, and probably most important, I don't think anyone covers this, but I will. Now, third and by no means least, why we do these runs. A lot of people don't talk about these. They talk a lot about it on, you know, the actual product, but for the long run, your shoes, yeah, it's so important. Again, stating the obvious, we want shoes that are comfortable on us on these long distances. So what may work well for us at 5k or 10k, once you start doing a long run, things start rubbing, not working so well. So for me, I'm fortunate enough, I'm running in now with the Saucony Endorphin Speed 2, so I never get the latest, I get the discount ones. So I found the Endorphin Speed ones work for me for all types of training and for races. So I tend to be a bit of a one-hit wonder when it comes to shoes. I don't need a rotation or anything. This is for me. Do what works for you. You know, if rotation works for you, carry on. If you need 3 dozen shoes for your training, carry on. But for me, one. Yeah, and previous to this, because I couldn't get the Endorphin Speed on discount, I did go with the Asics Magic Speed. So I done virtually all my training in those, and I ran Manchester Marathon in them. They work for me, and I still have them and do them on some easy training runs. And now I've brought these Endorphin Speed, they're new to me. I think I'm up to about, well, after today's run, it'll be over 100k, and they feel great. And I'm sure the latest, greatest Endorphin Speed 3 would work just as good. Yeah, so shoes, make sure you've got a comfortable pair on. Whew. Feeling good? I've got some more for you at the end, yeah. Stick on there, little bonus one. All about eating, recovery, and all that jazz. Welcome to the very, very end, and congratulations for sticking to the end, because sometimes I save the best till last. And for those who want to know the stats, it was a little over 30k, well, 30.30 kilometers to be exact. I'm back almost where I started, but the key thing for me, now in terms of the time, it was 2 hours and 51 minutes. So pretty much the same time on my feet as last week. I think last week was 2 hours 53, but yes, a bit more on the legs. I did run the, remember I was saying about taking it easy? For me, obviously, I'm at a completely different level from novice beginner, so I felt good, and I kicked on in the last sort of 4k, and didn't run it at what I would call marathon pace, but just marginally quicker, bearing in mind This is the first long run since surgery, so I've got to look after my body. So once it's good to put the training in, I need to ensure that I don't break myself. And talking about looking after my body, the reason why I keep this to the very end, what's more important than the actual training runs, and I've said this time and time again, whatever distances we run, it's the recovery, and my recovery starts now. And because I've been running quick towards the end, I want to allow my body to recover, so I have a walk. And for some people, towards the end of their long run, they slow down considerably and use that as part of their recovery. But for me, I work this out, I always have a walk at the end anyway. Whatever speed I tend to finish at the end, it allows the legs, you know, the blood flow and all that to sort itself out. But also I can start drinking. And the reason why most people do their long runs on the weekend, and for most people who have certain jobs that where you have the weekend off, it allows you to do nothing. Yes, in terms of physical stuff, you can literally just put your feet up, relax. Sundays here in Britain, you know, what do you eat? The schools of thought again, but more at elite level, is that after a long run, if you're trying to be fat adaptation, that you would eat certain fat foods, good fats by the way, you know, like Greek yogurts, nuts and all that kind of stuff for your recovery, so the body's recovering on fat. There is different schools of thought about carb burning and fat burning athletes, but again, I'm talking at elite level. For us beginners, do you know what we need to eat to recover really well? Whatever you damn want. Yeah, there's no rocket science there. Pizzas, Sunday roasts, yeah, whatever works for you. Let's get on the non-sunny side. So yeah, drink a lot. Yeah, you really need to hydrate after these long runs, irrespective of how much you've been drinking during the run itself. So hydration, food, rest. There's all sorts of products, services out there that talk about helping with recovery, and yes, some of them can do marginal gains and all that, but it is really marginal. But the essence really is, for me, this walk helps so much in terms of recovery. For every run, whatever the distance, I do my static stretches at the end once I get home, and that helps in terms of making sure my muscles and elasticity and all that type of stuff works. So yeah, thank you so much for sticking to the end. I've got a lovely video coming out later in the week regarding the Worcester City half marathon, where I'm targeting a sub 90 to see how my fitness has recovered since post-surgery. You may recall Birmingham Black Country half marathon, I ran a time of, and that was literally 3 days before surgery, 4 days, oh it was on the Saturday, so it might have been 3, 4, 5 days, whatever, before my surgery, and I'd done that in a time of 1 hour 29 minutes and 59 seconds, marginally longer than a half, but that was my level of fitness then. Let's see how it is now. So it's 2 weeks from now, and you've got the video coming out later in the week, and I'll talk more about that, because I think I've gone on long enough on here, haven't I? Yeah. So take care guys, thank you so much for watching, really appreciate the time coming back here each and every time, leaving comments, thumbs up, subscribing and all that jazz. Fantastic having you guys and gals here, and sharing your knowledge in the comments as well. Peace out. Bye bye bye.